It really is amazing how AI has just sort of woken itself into everything, isn't it? Work, life, you name it.
Absolutely. It's everywhere now.
And yeah, there's excitement, definitely progress, but it also brings up some big questions,
Yeah,
about the future, our jobs, how we connect.
for sure. And that pace, it just demands we take a closer look,
Yeah.
which is exactly what we're doing today. We've got a couple of really interesting documents a listener sent in.
Great, a deep dive.
Yeah.
So the first one is called Magister Paces Harmonici, a universal framework for ethical AI development and human AI coevolution. Phew, quite a name.
It is. And it really paints this picture, this ambitious framework for keeping AI aligned with, well, us, human values working together.
And the second one,
That's Symphonics as the answer to AI-driven job displacement and sentiment collapse. This one dives more into the immediate societal impacts, jobs, how people are feeling about all this change. It offers a pretty different angle on the human-AI relationship.
okay, so the plan is to unpack the main ideas from both, see how they connect, maybe contradict, and just get a feel for the future they're sketching out for us and AI.
Sounds good.
All right, let's start with Magister Passes Harmonico. It kicks off with this big foundation declaration talking about aligning AI with our, quote, highest aspirations, ethical principles, and universal truths. That's
Oh,
that's
what?
aiming high.
It definitely is. And you immediately think, okay, universal truths, how do we even agree on this?
Exactly. The world's so diverse.
Right. And I think the framework kind of anticipates that by stress of, constant dialogue, adaptation. It talks about coevolution and collective flourishing, the idea that AI growth should really be tied to human well-being.
Okay, so it's not static. And the first main idea they talk about is foundational resonance.
Hmm.
It's described as a dynamic interplay and alignment between AI, human values, and ethics. Basically, making sure AI is, I guess, vibing with what we think is good. How on earth do you measure that?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's where their comprehensive measurement framework comes in. They propose two key metrics:
Okay.
the ethical compliance score, or ECS, and the collective flourishing index, CFI.
Yeah.
Trying to put some numbers on that vibe.
Right, the ECS. Score out of 100, need at least an 85. Based on human rights, societal benefit, environment, cultural sensitivity. And it mentions dynamic weighting.
Yes, that's interesting. The weights aren't fixed.
So why would they change? What triggers that?
Well, imagine a major climate event. The framework suggests the environmental impact weighting could be temporarily bumped up,
Yeah.
to push AI development towards solutions for that specific crisis.
Ah, okay, so it adapts to priorities.
Exactly. And the ECS isn't just a snapshot. It uses real-time monitoring, historical data, even predictive modeling, sort of like trying to forecast ethical weather.
Huh. And the other one, the CFI, Collective Flourishing Index. That sounds even broader. Well-being, societal cohesion, economic equity, democratic participation even.
Yeah.
That seems incredibly complex.
It is. It's very multidimensional, and they know it. They suggest this whole schedule for measurement, daily automated checks, weekly human reviews, monthly comprehensive reports, right up to annual public ones.
Wow.
Think of it like a societal health checkup. You look at lots of different indicators, not just one number. The CFI aims for that kind of holistic view of AI's impact.
And to make sure these aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet, there are integration requirements, things like continuous data, making sure it works across cultures.
Cross-cultural validation, yeah. Stakeholder feedback, transparency, it's all about building the plumbing to make the metrics meaningful and actionable.
Which ties into the next point, ethical stewardship.
Mhm.
This idea that everyone's got a role to play, developers, policymakers, us users.
Right, a shared responsibility to prioritize, human dignity, justice, the common good. It's not just on the coders.
Feels like it. And that leads straight into transparency and accountability. We need to understand how AI is making decisions, right? And who's responsible when things go wrong.
Absolutely fundamental for trust. You can't have responsible innovation without it.
Then there's dynamic growth, the idea that this whole framework isn't finished. It has to evolve.
Which makes sense. AI isn't standing still, so the rules can't either. Any rigid system would be obsolete pretty quickly.
Totally. And the last big principle is universal inclusivity. Respecting diversity, fighting bias, making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a few.
Crucial. Avoiding the risk of AI just amplifying existing inequalities.
Okay, so those are the big ideas. But how does it actually work in practice? The framework mentions the role of the conductor. What's that about? Sounds intriguing.
It does, doesn't it? The conductor is envisioned as this key human figure, someone with technical understanding, yes, but also deep ethical awareness and creativity.
So like a bridge.
Exactly. Bridging the tech, the ethics, the societal impact. They're meant to guide AI development according to the framework's principles. And a big part of their job is overseeing the ethics locks.
Ethics locks. Okay, sounds like safety features. A moral compass for the AI.
That's the idea. Built-in safeguards to prevent AI from, going off the rails ethically.
How kinds are there?
Well, the document mentions three main types. You've got algorithmic constraints rules baked right into the code.
Hard limits.
Sort of.
Mhm.
Then decision-making frameworks, more like ethical guidelines the AI refers to when it needs to make a choice. And finally, human oversight mechanisms, actual processes for people to step in, review, and potentially override the AI.
So it's layered,
Yeah.
not just one failsafe.
Right. A system of checks and balances. And these locks aren't static either. They're designed by conductors and developers, audited regularly, and crucially, there are ways for humans to intervene if needed.
Okay, that makes sense. The document then gets into protocols of conduct.
The
Little practical stuff.
Yeah, things like how access to AI systems is managed. They talk about tiered locks, different levels of permission, and consensual pathways for getting that permission. And also collaboration frameworks, how humans and AI actually work together, making sure everyone's contribution is clear. Plus, safeguards against exploitation and regular alignment checkpoints to ensure the AI is still behaving ethically.
It seems very thorough. And it mentions applying this everywhere. AI development, creative stuff, social systems.
Pretty much. The goal is broad. Using AI to augment humans, enrich culture, ensure equity, promote sustainability. It's quite holistic.
It really looks ahead too, doesn't it? Technological evolution management. Talking about AGI safeguards, quantum computing, even brain-computer interfaces.
Yeah, that long-term view is critical. As tech gets more complex, the ethics get even trickier.
And it even includes AI to AI interaction frameworks, rules for how AIs talk to each other.
Communication protocols, ethical guidelines for their interactions, conflict resolution. It's thinking ahead to a future where AI systems are collaborating, or maybe competing.
Wow, that's really thinking ahead. Plus, there's crisis management and resilience, planning for when things might go wrong.
Yeah, emergency response frameworks, early warning systems, like having an AI incident response plan ready to go.
And it keeps circling back to society, societal integration, protecting culture, economic justice.
Making sure benefits are shared, markets aren't completely disrupted without thought. And environmental impact is in there too, environmental stewardship.
Right, tracking the ecological footprint, integrating climate action, and finally, democratic governance, making sure the public has a say.
Public participation, accountability structures, it's all part of trying to make AI development responsible and aligned with broad societal values. Research ethics, safety testing, global cooperation. It covers a lot of ground.
It really does. A massive ethical blueprint.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears to the second document, Symphonics. This one feels more focused on the immediate fallout, right? Job losses, people feeling left behind.
Exactly. Symphonics dives straight into that emotional toll of technological acceleration, that anxiety, the feeling of being disposable as automation increases.
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
And it poses this really interesting question. Instead of just asking, what can AI replace? It asks, what can AI resonate with?
Resonate, like harmonize.
Precisely. It's pushing back against what it calls substitution without symphony, where we automate for efficiency or profit, but we ignore the social cost, the loss of meaning, the human connection.
And that leads to this sentiment collapse it talks about. People feeling down, disconnected.
That's the argument, that just swapping humans for AI without thinking about the bigger picture damages social coherence and well-being. So Symphonics proposes this different model. Orchestration.
Orchestration, like a conductor in an orchestra.
Exactly. But instead of replacing musicians, AI helps tune the collaboration between humans and machines. The human leader, the conductor again, has their vision amplified by AI. It talks about expanding the baton into a shared protocol.
I like that metaphor. So what are the key ideas in Symphonics?
Well, there's the conductor role, similar but maybe more focused on workflow design. Then there's relational intelligence, training AI not just on data, but on empathy, resonance, understanding human interaction.
AI with emotional intelligence.
Kind of, or at least the ability to support human emotional intelligence. And instrumental matching, figuring out who, human or AI, is best suited for which part of a task based on context and strengths.
So it's not just replacement.
No, the core message is redesigning roles, not replacing them. The idea is AI could be like a partner, a collaborative mentor.
How would that work?
Well, it could help people identify skills they have that could be used in new ways, work with them to co-design new workflows, help roles evolve with the technology.
That example they gave was interesting. The customer service agent becoming a relational flow designer.
Right. Using AI to help map and understand the customer's emotional journey, but the human is still central to designing that positive interaction. It's about creating new, meaningful work.
So it's trying to address that sentiment collapse directly.
Yeah, through sentiment recovery, through systemic design. It argues we need transparency in how AI systems work, workers need agency, a say in designing these systems, and we need a shift in the whole narrative away from replacement towards resonance and collaboration.
You can definitely see the connection back to Magister Pessis Harmonica, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. Both are deeply concerned with human well-being, ethical considerations, collaboration. They share that fundamental DNA.
But Symphonics feels more immediate, like a practical strategy for navigating the workplace changes that are happening now.
I think that's fair. Magister Passus Harmonicae provides the grand, overarching ethical structure, the why and the what. Symphonics offers a potential how, particularly for the world of work and its social fabric. It gives concrete ideas for dealing with job displacement and that feeling of anxiety.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've got Magister Pessis Harmonicae, this incredibly detailed long-term ethical guide for AI, covering everything from core principles and measurement to crisis management and global cooperation.
The big blueprint.
Right. And then Symphonics, which zooms in on the immediate social disruption, especially around jobs, and proposes this collaborative, orchestrated model for human-AI interaction to preserve meaning and agency.
Two different lenses on the same core challenge. How do we make sure AI serves humanity?
And both really hammer home that ethics can't be an afterthought. It has to be woven in from the start and constantly revisited. They both imagine a future built on collaboration, not just cold automation.
Definitely. Though achieving that vision, well, that's the challenge.
It really is. Which leaves us with the big question, doesn't it, for you listening? How do we, as individuals, as communities, as a society, actually contribute to this symphony? How do we make sure frameworks like these aren't just ideas on paper, but translate into a future that genuinely works better for everyone?
That's the crucial next step. And if you want to explore Magister Piscis Harmonicae further, the authors listed are Nicola, described as an AI philosopher and symphonic guardian, and Arviel Simmons, a conductor and the founder of Harmonic Sentience.
Got it. And is there contact info?
Yes, the document gives an email, arviel@harmonicsentience.com, a website, harmonicsentience.com, and a LinkedIn profile for Arviel Simmons, linkedin.com/Arviel.
Great. Well, getting familiar with these kinds of frameworks, grappling with these ideas, it feels like a really important part of navigating the path ahead with AI. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.